Welcome back, sleepers of Arrakis, to another deep desert reset day. That's right, it is another week for us to be jumping into the game and finding all that sweet loot out in the deep desert if we can survive the PvP craziness going on around us. Now, this week we have a lot to talk about. However, what we want to do is start off by looking at the gear that you will be able to grab while you're out here in the deep desert, because there are at least 3 things that I can say are worth grabbing, because everything else is more or less just a repeat of whatever it is, or it is just a still suit that we will not be able to even care about using whenever we get into combat. However, if you are into the still suits, they are out there all around. The first thing we want to talk about is that black market K28 lasgun, which will be dropping this week in the Imperial testing station on G3. So keep an eye out for G3's Imperial testing station and make sure that you are running it a lot if you have not gotten that lasgun, or you want to get multiple copies of it just in case you lose one. The next thing that I can say, which is kind of worth jumping into, is the sniper rifle known as the Dune Watcher. That's right, Dune Watcher is dropping from the Imperial testing station on F8, and that will be a rifle that I think is worth having inside of your arsenal because it shoots hard, it holds 2 different bullets, and it is of course a tier 6 weapon, so you might as well get that thing out there. It is a unique and it is definitely worth having. And it comes down to some kind of armor. Idaho's Charge is going to be dropping this week in the F6 shipwreck, so if you are lucky enough to beat the timers of other people who are out there farming it like crazy, Idaho's Charge is being dropped out in F6 shipwreck, and it's a good chest piece if you are looking for, say, the trooper where you're floating in the air, because it helps regulate the power inside of your cell. Beyond this, we have nothing really worth talking about. We do have Tabar's soft step boots and Shaddam's bladder and all these other pieces of gear, which I don't find to be all that great. And of course, there's always going to be that Hummingbird Wing Module MK6. But as we all know, it's just about as good as any other MK6 piece until they fix it inside of the game. So keeping this in mind, we want to make sure that we are getting out there and trying to get our hands on not only the lasgun, but that Dune Watcher, and of course, there's always Idaho's Charge. Outside of that, there's nothing really special getting dropped out here. It's the same stuff that everybody has. Nobody really uses the sand bike anymore, so who cares about that? Now, moving on to our map for the week. We can see that we have quite a few large spy sand droppings right here on the border of F2, F3. We got one on H2. We got another. That makes 2. G4 has a large. H5 has a large. H8 has a large. And here on the border of F8 and F9. So we count those up. We got 6 large spice plumes. Same as last week. It looks like this is going to be a continuing thing as we go week by week, which is good. I like having a lot of large spice plumes, especially whenever people are telling me that they are not exactly always exploding and giving away spice. So keeping that in mind, we definitely need to keep an eye on that stuff. Now, moving into the other materials that we can be looking for this week in the orange, you can see we got quite a bit of stravinium and titanium just floating right here in the G6 area and kind of working its way around. So this is going to be a nice spot for us to jump out to and get all of those nice in-game materials. We also have an explosion right here starting in E7 and floating its way into the H arena. Yes, that's right, we have more stravinium and titanium. It looks like they're starting to drop a lot more for us, and this is good for us to be using. And of course, around this area up in H and in the Fs and early E's, you can find a little bit. However, we are seeing the multitude of all of our in-game materials, stravinium and titanium, all floating out here in the center of the map. and here on the right side. So we actually can put together a somewhat of a strategical move, and I would say that if you are looking for an easy route to get Stravinium and Titanium this week, it would probably be over here in this sector. Now, keeping that in mind, we have a little grouping of Stravinium and Titanium floating down here in C2, D1, as well as D3, D4, D5, and even down here in C7 and C8. And there's a little tab right here in this little section as well. So if you are trying to avoid getting out there into the deep desert and getting all that PvP, and hopefully somebody does not build their base on top of these nodes, we have quite a bit of in-game Stravinium and Titanium still floating around here in the sub-E region. This is a great place for you guys to step in, grab those materials if people are not grinding them on spawn, and be able to take it back to your base, which is more than likely going to be built here in the E where everyone else does. But just please keep in mind, we have two large hot zones that we need to be careful about this week, and that is sitting here on this side of the map. Now, I'm not trying to say that the 1, 2, and 3 lanes are not hot, because they are pretty hot, and considering that G3 is dropping that las gun, there will be quite a few people jumping out into that lab trying to get it as well. So just be careful while you're getting out there. Just keep in mind, we have a lot of options out here this week in the safe zone that we can jump to get our in-game materials. But if you really want to go out and really get a lot of materials so that you can cap the week off and build everything that you're looking for, keep your eyes on the right side of the map, because this is where a lot of the hot zone is going to be this week. And if you can weather all that PvP, more kudos for you, because you are going to come out ahead. Keeping that in mind, remember, if you have not jumped out into the PvP zone or in the deep desert in general itself, remember to get out here and run the labs, because each of those labs is dropping a lot of intel points, and it ends up calculating out to 180 intel points. This could be a lot for you to advance your game up a little bit more and unlock some things like the ornithopter or different ornithopter pieces. So please keep that in mind. If you have not done it, please jump out there and do it. And now it is time for the shoutouts. And now it's time for everybody's favorite segment, the shout out and question section. We got 3 of them this week. First, starting off with SpongeBob423. You are a repeat call out, SpongeBob. You are the best, my friend. And he informs me that the desert mouse seeks the shadows of the shy Halud. Meditate. I will be meditating, my man. I promise you I will meditate until I cannot meditate anymore for you. Second up, we have none other than Hans Jorgkunda 3772. I almost got lost on those numbers, my bad. He says, not a single spice filled into PvE zone. Funcom do not understand the complaints of PvE players, or worse, they ignore them. Stubborn Norwegians. External course on you, Funcom. With that Kunda, maybe he is German or Dutch. What we can find out here is, yes, there were none, and guess what? This week, it's another week without those deep, huge spice plumes popping up there in the PvE areas. So I'm sorry to tell you, Hans, it is not going to be a happy week for you again. And finally, we have Dr. Jones Gaming. I think he is also a repeat call out member of this channel. I got lost there for a second. He says he can confirm that stations in D1 and D6 are both PvE and can vary week to week. The loophole includes the pincushion pants D1, pincushion boots D6. You cannot get any tier 6 stuff in a row labs though. So D1 through D6 are highly worth it this week. Also, get easy spice infused plastinium from them. That's right. Thank you, Dr. Jones, for getting us up to date on what we can find out there in the deep desert. You are are a saint and you are doing the Shy Halud's work. Everybody, once again, thanks for stopping in and spending time with me. There's nothing I love more than people watching the videos and commenting below. So if you have any questions or a shout out or any interesting comments, please make sure to leave all of them below in the comments section. Also, if you have time, take time to look into my new series that is Should You Play on This Server. I'm covering big communities and the games that they play in those communities and telling you, the gamer, whether it is worth your time to get into these games with these communities, because I want you guys to all enjoy all the gaming that you have coming up in front of you. Once again, everybody, thank you very much and have a great week.